Hello everybody, today I want to make a video about why I will not pay for a woman on a date. So I'll start by telling you what happened recently and then some of my experience. My mother found me an article from the local Jewish news about a lady who was 72 years old at the time, who is not Orthodox, who is acting like a matchmaker. Yes, I was raised Jewish. I'm not religious now. So even though seeing the matchmaker felt like it was stupid and my mother didn't put that much effort into trying to convince me to see the matchmaker, I saw the matchmaker on my own. I called her. I went to her apartment. And she has health problems. And then after I saw her, somebody else called me and another lady told me that this matchmaker had fallen and hurt herself and she was in a rehabilitation place. Before the lady fell, I saw the matchmaker. She wanted $300. She wanted $500, but she was willing to accept $300. I gave her $300. And she ended up giving me 4 names, and then she gave me 2 more later. One of the women was talking on her cell phone when she answered the phone, and I don't want a bad driver. One of the women accused me of knowing her. One of the women actually talked to me for over 35 minutes on the phone and then said something like, I want someone who shares my values or shares my sense of social justice. And I figured out that this girl is extremely liberal biased. She hates conservatives. And there was another girl who was 44. I think that seems suspiciously old to me. I'm only 35. So I ended up calling the 44-year-old who talked to me for at least 10 minutes on the phone, and then later she sent me a text message saying something like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I got back together with my boyfriend." And then she gave me another number of someone who was 28 who didn't have time to talk on the phone because she was a graduate student. Early this month, the matchmaker called me twice. And I think this matchmaker is almost a scam. And I complained at her too much. But anyway, she gave me the phone number. She was going to give me a number of someone who wanted kids. And I told her I didn't want kids. That's a subject for another video. And then the second number the matchmaker gave me, I don't know how old the girl was. She is a lawyer. We talked to each other very briefly twice. We agreed to meet at a museum. Before we met, I sent her a message because I called her phone and she didn't answer, and she'd sent me a text message saying that something about she couldn't hear me but she could text. And I look at the text. The text says something like, Sorry, I can't talk right now because it's very loud, but I can text. And then I guess I screwed up big time. They said, I will ask the staff of the museum to look up my mother's membership information. If they still won't allow us in without paying, I will make it so me and you will spend the same amount, bring money and a driver's license. Irene and our parents will hate me for saying this, but I will do what is fair. The rules they learned are anachronistic, outdated, sexist, and so on. So you could complain that I massively screwed everything up big time. So I showed up at the museum and I didn't check my phone before I showed up. And she sent me the most horrible messages ever. The messages say, I don't agree with you at all. We can meet as friends, but as far as anything more, I don't see it. I find your text very disrespectful. In other words, this is no longer a date. If you want to cancel, that's fine with me, because at this point, I don't feel like meeting you at this point. I mean, I don't want to marry someone who thinks that paying for a date is antiquated. But I put that bitch in her place, and I still am not happy. I said, oh my god, I can't believe that. Why do you always have to make such scary accusations and cause such panic? I already got us in for no cost to you. You are an equally capable fellow human being. You are not a lawyer. You are a lawyer, not a charity case. You have to be respectful, not just demand that a man you don't know buys you stuff. I don't like being yelled at for just being fair. Now how am I supposed to feel? Then I wrote, it's offensive to my sense of fairness to demand that I buy women's stuff. That sounds stupid, so I shouldn't have even wrote any of this garbage. Just because I'm a man according to genetic accident. And then I wrote, show up, apologize, and just be a pleasant person. Your behavior should come from your own head, our agreements, your sense of fairness, and so on, not from the matchmaker, our parents, or society, and then a bunch of other stuff. And then later I wrote, I'm sorry I offended the lady's values in my message. I would just accept that we probably are not allowed to communicate again, and a bunch of other stuff. But the point is, I was taught that on a date, I have to buy a woman something. This is this one time I had a terrible discussion with one of my aunts, and she put her hand on my arm and grabbed my arm and said, if a woman says she tries to pay, you say, no, it's my treat. I'm paying. My parents, my aunt, and two other women relatives all very strongly insisted that I have to pay for a woman on a date. And that feels unfair to me, because it's not fair that I have to pay twice as much as what I should be paying while the woman gets to get something for free. Now let's think about sex. I'm very sure that I would not have sex if me and a woman were not, or had not established that we were having a sincere, close, monogamous, long-term relationship. Because I want to, and it doesn't have anything to do with being moralistic or being religious. I'm not all out religious. It's just that I want to feel like a woman likes me as much as humanly possible. But if there's any chance that a woman doesn't like me enough, then it just feels wrong to just like have sex if a woman doesn't like me enough. So similarly, I know analogies are never persuasive, but at least they help teach concepts. If a woman might not like me enough, why would I spend money on her? Plus, why isn't the woman spending money on me? Like, if you insist that the man has to pay for the woman, then you've got some explaining to do, because then you've got to explain why the man should be the one who has to buy something for the woman instead of the woman buying something for the man just because I have a Y chromosome and the woman does not have a Y chromosome. I could totally understand if I was in a sincere, monogamous, close, long-term relationship, if I bought a woman something every so often to show my appreciation to her for liking me. But I don't see how I can buy something to show my appreciation to a woman for liking me if there's a chance that she doesn't really like me enough. It's sort of like if So if outside of a sincere relationship, there's no reason for me to waste money buying stuff for a woman when she's not even buying stuff for me. And so I guess there are some women who will refuse to relate to me as a potential relationship or a fellow human being or a peer just because I didn't buy them something. But it just feels totally wrong to just have people just demand that I just have to buy a woman something when she's not spending money on me. So plus the relationship should be an equal exchange of value. Look, I am looking for a sincere relationship, and see, the purpose of a relationship is, well, as far as I can tell, is that I want to feel like a woman likes me as much as humanly possible, and she should be the most important person to me, and I should be the most important person to her. We should do certain activities around each other, see each other every so often, spend time around each other. And if it's a sincere relationship, I guess we can move on to living with each other. So I think there's obviously significant overlap between what I want and typical notions about marriage. But the thing is, if a woman won't relate to me or consider me as a potential relationship or potential boyfriend or spouse just because I didn't buy her something, then she's not even looking for my companionship. She's just looking to have me give her free stuff. You just don't understand why, rationally, why the man has to be the provider and the woman has to be the user. I know that in the past, a very large percentage of women didn't work for a living, and women used to not be able to buy stuff, but women can vote, run for public office, hold public office, do like all the professions that men can do, or like almost all the professions men can do. Women can have bank accounts, women can handle money, so it's not like women are childlike, less capable, semi-helpless human beings who have to be taken care of by a man. So this idea that I should have to buy a woman stuff or else she's not going to like me is just like antiquated nonsense. It just feels outrageously wrong to me. Now, there are some women who might choose to pay when they see me. Actually, there was this one time when I was trying living in a town a 4-hour drive away from my parents' house. And I met this woman at a place where she bought herself a piece of pizza, and at the time, I thought my duty was to buy her something, and I really hated her for not letting me pay for her. But there was another time that I met a woman. No, a woman actually gave me her phone number and came on to me, and I didn't really like her, but I allowed her to convince me to drive her to a bowling place, and she coerced me into buying her an alcoholic drink. I don't drink alcohol now. And then she stole $64 from me, and she stole her cell phone too. But she stole my cell phone too. There was this one time I convinced a woman on a website to meet me to play chess, and we met twice, and I asked her what her favorite fruit was, and then the next time I saw her, I bought her some red bananas. I should have bought her something like dates or figs, and then she started rejecting them, and I felt like the worst fool ever. This is one time I convinced a woman on a website to meet me for bowling, and then we went to a Panera Bread place, and we didn't even have any discussion about paying. She just paid for herself. Then she started telling me about how she was bipolar and her parents were currently on a month-long vacation trip, and that at one time she had an episode where she couldn't sleep well for 8 days, and her parents had to take her to the hospital. This one time I got a woman to agree to meet me in a coffee shop, but she didn't show up. And another time when I was trying to live far away from home, I convinced the girl to say she would meet me at the nearby art museum, but then she didn't show up. Another time, I convinced another girl to meet me at the nearby art museum, but she didn't show up, but I contacted her, and then she actually answered the phone and agreed to show up, and she showed up 45 minutes later, and then she would point at a painting and say, "Oh, I remember that scene," or "I used to live in that town." And I could tell she was lying, and she invited me to her house one time, but I felt stupid about going there to her house because I didn't know her good enough. Then there was this one time I convinced a woman to meet me for bowling at a place close to where I live now, but we met on a Friday night, but on the Tuesday before we met, she stopped communicating to me. And then when we met in person, we both paid our own fair share. But the bowling place, the only reason why she picked the place was because her dad and her brother were on a men's only league at the place, and she barely talked to me. She would only answer questions if I asked questions, and she didn't initiate talking to me, and she only answered with very short one-sentence answers or one-word answers. And then right when we were done with the bowling, she insisted that she had to stay at the place, and she said, "Oh, the door is right over there. Oh, I have to stay here. I have to stay here. The door is right over there." And before I left even walked out of the bowling place, it felt like it was like the saddest thing ever. Also, her brother came to her to check up on her for about a minute while we were bowling. So I have seen women in person, which I guess you could call them as dates, but I've never had a girlfriend before in my life. So that's why I really feel like if a woman won't relate to me as a peer or a friend in potential relationship, unless I buy her something, then she has antiquated ideas about man-woman relationships where she thinks the man's supposed to be the provider and the woman's supposed to be the user, and she's not really looking for my companionship. She's just looking to use me for free stuff, and that feels like so unfair. It's just totally unfair that just because I have a Y chromosome, I have to buy her something and I have to pay twice as much money as what she's paying, and she's not paying anything. It's just so unfair.